realize, and then you realize the next day that everybody hates you for it. But while you're doing it, you don't think about that.
We'll talk about my Ryan Suter story in a little bit.
Yeah, but when you do a podcast or you do this kind of thing, it's about you and I having a human conversation, which is a completely different thing than sitting down and writing a column.
Yeah. No, I tell people all the time, no, he's really a good guy. He really is.
Which is why you're not as popular as you once were.
Yeah.
It's damaged your approval rating, I think.
Yeah.
Let's thank Twill and the Edina Galleria real quickly. TwillMN.com, Twill, TWILL on Instagram. Go to those places. Check out their vast options. Many. I'm wearing a barber shirt right now. I packed for my trip to New York last weekend, and I packed all my Twill stuff because it just wears so easily. It looks good, but it's also incredibly comfortable. They're getting their fall lineup in now. We're going to do a live show from there soon. Scott, Dayton, I promise we'll be out and doing a live show with you soon. They've been a sponsor of ours for a long time. We do appreciate it.
Jim usually doesn't like to shop for clothes. I don't like it when he shops for clothes either, because he used to buy stuff I'd want to throw out. That's why I'm so glad he's found Twill in the Edina Galleria. He likes shopping there because of the comfortable environment and the friendly staff. He finds clothes that actually fit him properly and are high-quality brands that will look great for years, whether he's golfing or working. Our favorites so far are Peter Millar, Johnny O, and Barber. We spend our money at Twill because we love the clothes and we love the no-pressure shopping. Drop by Twill in the Edina Galleria for the best shopping experience and best clothes you'll find in the Twin Cities.
By the way, saw Hamilton in New York last weekend.
Good.
And you know what? Great show.
I have not seen it.
Oh, my God. It's fantastic. Yeah. And my wife and I were both worried that we'd heard how great it was for so long that it couldn't possibly live up to it. It was actually better than I expected.
That's kind of like when I went to Cinque Terre this summer. I'd heard for years, like, oh, you got to go to Cinque Terre. I'm like, huh.
It was great. And the other thing about New York, we were there for like 4 days. And, one day full of work where I, covered a Vikings game. Otherwise, we were basically kind of, off or not, didn't have to. And Michael, New York just wears me out.
Yeah.
It wears me out. I don't know if you as a native New Yorker, it has the same effect, but every time I get back from a trip to New York, I feel like I've been just drained of all liquid.
I don't know. I love it.
I love it too.
Walking around.
I love it, but when I'm done, I'm exhausted.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm in and out of places so quickly that it's true. Like I don't know. Well, and I'm used to that. Like I'm used to cramming stuff. Like I know by the minute what I'll be doing in Vancouver on Sunday. It's like, but it's kind of been my life forever.
Right.
So, but I love New York. I mean, it is. If you're not from there though, and don't know where you're going and are intimidated by scores of people and honking horns and rude taxi drivers, then you're not going to like it, and it's probably going to be emotionally exhausting. The only time I remember being, I once was in I don't know why this just popped in my head, but it must have been that I was emotionally exhausted. But I was on a flight once going from Buffalo to LaGuardia, and we were hit by lightning. And it was hellacious. I mean, it was like going over hurricane-forced winds over Manhattan. And we actually had an emergency landing at LaGuardia, and we were the last flight leaving Buffalo because of a blizzard, and the last flight into LaGuardia because of this windstorm. And fire trucks on the runway, all this stuff. And I check into the Marriott East Side, and I laid down on my bed and I slept for like 10 hours. And it was honestly, like I woke up and it was night. And I'm like, oh my God, I missed practice. But it was like one of those things where it was like, that's the only time I've been exhausted in Manhattan, but not actually out and about. I love the place.
I do too. I love it, but it does, yeah. It beats me up for some reason. I just don't think I sleep well there. And there's always so much to do. I never feel like taking any time to rest. I'm just,
what LaPanta and Greenlight do in New York that I would never do is they ride bikes at night.
What?
Yeah, like they have the bike sharing thing that we have in every.
But
city
it's not a good idea.
I would never do
Never. You see the way people drive in New York?
Yes, I would never ever
good
ever
Lord.
ever do it.
Yeah. You know what? I think Greenlane and LaPanta should wear helmets 24 hours a day.
Yeah, they loved riding bikes on the road. They have a standard joke when they like all of a sudden like they'll be around lunchtime and they'll both look at each other like, tonight we ride. Yeah, they started that in Washington, D.C. And there is no better place at night to ride a bike, to do the bike sharing than in Washington. You could go see all the monuments in like an hour.
That's true.
And everything's lit up beautifully and all that stuff.
But D.C. kind of set up. There's a lot of places to ride bikes, and there's a lot of good paths. New York, I feel like I would die.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt.
Tell me about the Ryan Suter story and your conversation with Scott Walker.
Well, yeah, again, theathletic.com/I know Russo. And it's funny. His neighbor is Scott Walker, the governor of Wisconsin, and they become really good friends. And so I'm just like, I've written every Ryan Suter story there ever is, right? I mean, I've written all about his family. When he made the All-Star game for the Strip, I did a massive feature where I hung out with him and his son Brooks at Minnesota Made at the hockey rink. And so I'm like, what am I going to do? And I know all this stuff about Ryan that hasn't been out there. And one is that he's the next door neighbors with the governor. And two is that he's got his invested in tons of companies. I mean, we all know about the Madison Capitals and Bob Suter's Ice, but owns a ton of real estate and hotels, and he's bringing a really cool Madison staple to Dinkytown, and he's in an artificial intelligence robotic company and a venture capital funds and a sports production company, which is like, the TV trucks that you see outside a sporting event, only on a smaller scale. And so I wanted to write about this. So I'm going to try to get the governor on the phone. And what do you know? On Sunday, the governor calls. So I interview him, and it was like perfect timing too. It was like in between me moving. It's my stuff.
It's nice that he would accommodate your schedule.
Saturday. And it was in between, like it was the second I walked into my condo and all that. And so I interview him, and politics aside, I'm interviewing him. I'm not thinking about party or anything like that. I'm just interviewing the guy, about his friendship with and how they become buddies and blah, blah, blah. And I write the story. There's no political either way slanted, but the way that everything's divided in this country right now and polarized. So it's like you were saying the other day that you're not thinking about like what other people are going to be thinking. Like all of a sudden I tweet it out and people are just like, I'm getting the most vile tweets back to me and comments on the story and things like that. It's not endorsing anybody. It's just a story about it. If you're a left-wing hockey fan and I wrote this story about Suter being buddies with Beto O'Rourke, would you give a crap? Probably not. So that's to me the define in your head that you've got to separate the two. It's like, just read it as what it is. Is that to me it was like a cute story, but I don't know. Just some people took it like viciously. So I hope Ryan doesn't get any repercussions from that, but it just bothers me. So like that, and it's funny, I had a couple people like going after me hard, and I'm just like, freaking, it just shows how cyclical things are. Like 3 days ago, I wrote this Greg Patterson feature that was one of the most heartwarming things I've ever written in my life. Like there's like 7 or 8, and it's a happy heartwarming. It's there were like 7 or 8 things in this story that if you got to it, you might actually well up. And everybody on there is like, oh, great story. This is the best thing ever. This is why I subscribe to The Athletic. And then like 3 days later, like, you're a bastard. I don't know. I hope nobody cancels because of a freaking feature on Ryan Suter and the fact of who his friend is. We all have friends that are on either party. This just happens to be the governor, which I get. And I get that he's a polarizing figure in the state of Wisconsin, but I was putting all of that out of my head and more doing on a fact of a guy that has become really, really good friends with Ryan Suter and getting some insight into what Ryan is like as a family guy.
It does remind me. I was doing a feature on Ryan Suter. Fairly early in his stay here, and I was talking to him. And back then, I got along Parisi pretty well. I was asking Parisi about it. And I said, tell me something interesting about Suter. He said, well, he's a right-wing nut.
Yeah,
and he didn't actually mean it as an insult. He was just like stating a fact. It just kind of.
Parisi and Stahl, by the way, are hilarious in this story. Throughout the story, I mean, a big part of the story is Ryan's business ventures, and like it's unbelievable. He's always on the phone doing something, cutting some deal. He's got something on the go, and the standard joke around the team is like, "Who'd you fire today?" Because Ryan owns the Madison Capitals. They went through 4 coaches in 4 years and fired one coach before there was even a game.
Oh man!
So
So there's no truth to the rumor that Ryan would ever use his influence to affect who might coach a hockey team.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I know.
That's the team that he owns.
Which you have to be more specific.
So that just popped into my head. So, theathletic.com/Russo. If you want to rip me in the comments field,
That's
I don't think
right.
you should do it on Twitter. You should do it on the comments of The Athletic. How about
That's
that?
right. Subscribe to The Athletic
so you
to
can
rip
trash
Russo. That's why I do it.
me. Yeah.
Are they going to trade for Nylander?
No. Nylander's not going to get. He's going to resign, I think, in Toronto, and the big thing with Nylander, Jim, is that like for the Wild to acquire him, if you're really giving him $7 or $8 million, is they're going to have to trade almost dollar for dollar or a little under that. Well, one big reason why they're not signing Nylander right now in Toronto is they're trying to be fiscally responsible because they've got Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner coming in a year. So are they going to be able to take a Niederreiter and a Brodin or a Spurgeon or a Dumbo? I don't think so. So I just don't think so. I do think that he's trying to make a trade. I do think that is a fact. He's going around. Blockbusters don't just happen. But there's no doubt in my mind that Paul's doing his due diligence and trying to figure out what to do right now to improve this hockey team. The good news is he's, at least as of this podcast, they've looked like they've turned the corner a little bit here. They've won 3 in a row going into tonight's game against LA. LA stinks, but those are the games that scare you the most if you're Bruce Boudreau. I mean, the Wild haven't played in 4 days. They're not the fastest starting team as it is. So they've been scored on first in 6 straight games. So if all of a sudden, you haven't played in 4 days and you're playing a desperate opponent, it could be hairy, but I think the Wild should be able to outskate this team. The Wild are not the fastest of foot, but this team they're playing, it looks old and slow to me right now.
Thanks to WizKids.tech. Check out their new billboard on Washington Avenue, and you will get an impression of how well Michael Thannert's Minneapolis company is doing. We appreciate their support.
Hello, Minnesota sports fans. This is Michael Thanert, founder and CEO of WizKids. WizKids is a Minneapolis-based managed IT, hosted VoIP, and cloud services provider. Businesses today require fast response times, skilled support staff, clear communication, and technology recommendations that align with their business goals. At WizKids, we do this each and every day with our clients. When you call into our help desk for support or work with one of our higher-level engineers on a complex issue, you'll find our staff personable and ready to roll up their sleeves to help you solve your technology problems. Reach out to WizKids today to find out how we can help your business meet your technology goals. Visit us online at wizkids.tech. That's wizkids.tech. WizKids, make it happen.
I think we should do a lot of Twitter questions today.
Yeah.
We don't always get to Twitter questions when we're doing our live show at Delano's. And reminder, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, this weekend, use bitesquad.com, promo code Vikings2018 to get $10 off your order. It's a good deal. Also, thanks to producer Brandon Morton. If you'd like to advertise with the network, including some really bargain rates for some of our newer shows, you can reach me at jsouhan47@gmail.com. And please download before you listen. It's a better listening experience. It's better for us as well. Let's see. From longtime caller, first-time listener, JT Ruland. Question for today's podcast, not just hockey, but why does everyone want to add or change NHL rules when they don't even enforce the ones they already have? Shouldn't they start with what they have first?
Yeah, I agree. Just call the rule book. I agree with you. I don't like that they constantly are changing rules or tweaking things every year. Goalie equipment or last year's rule change was no timeout after an icing. I mean, let's just play the game. It's a good game right now. Let's just play it and stop tweaking things every year.
From Russo's Gamer, why is it the Wild seem to get these awkward days off every October and then get so many March, April games with very little time off?
Russo's Gamer. The NHL is the only league that I know of that doesn't have a computer system that puts together these schedules. It's all done sort of by hand, the way I understand it. And if you notice it, the Wild have the same pattern almost every year. They play the teams at the same time. There's a reason why they play Buffalo game 41. It seemed like and this year it's like they take the same template every single year and just put it together. And I don't like it. I think it's stupid. Look, every team I think should have a couple of these 4-day breaks in the year, but you want to do it when teams are actually needed and are tired. The Wild just had a 17-day training camp or whatever it was, and now all of a sudden they've got 2 4-day breaks in the middle of the first month of the season, and then they've got just this compressed schedule a lot of the rest of the way here. I mean, they got a 7-game road trip coming up right now.
From Dan Waldron, how about some insight into in-game communication on the bench or locker room between periods, calling lines and D pairs, decision-making, line shuffling, etc.?
Well, I mean, I'm not exactly sure what they mean, but